Hey, Chris Lippe here with 3 tips for sustainable, great-sounding sing-screaming. Singing with distortion. In my opinion, and in very different ways, 2 of the greatest sing-screamers, and incidentally 2 of my favorite vocalists in history, are Chester Bennington and Chris Cornell. They have different approaches, but they give away a lot as far as ways to work these amazingly intense sung sounds into your voice in great ways. Chester here in 2001. When they were trying to decide what the next single off of Hybrid Theory would be, following One Step Closer, Chester did not want it to be Crawling. And one of the main reasons was it was really hard to sing live. Chester had made known on a number of occasions that distorted singing was way harder on his voice than all-out voiceless screams, or near voiceless. Chester never really went all voiceless. And this is something that a lot of people who are getting into aggressive vocals don't think about, or don't think to think about. And I'm not minimizing the difficulty of a well-shaped, well-crafted, voiceless scream. They're incredible. And I have more trouble, as I'm still developing those techniques in my voice, with those kinds of techniques than I do with sing-screaming. But I totally understand, having dabbled and really worked on both, why sing-screaming is often more strenuous than some of the voiceless sorts of engagements. And this is because it's easy in the beginning to just go really hard on your primary chords and get good sounding distortion. But you quickly find out that it is unsustainable. So we need to build more mindfully sing-screaming distortion over our primary chord engagement and feel out that balance, that unique balance to our own voice that allows us to be sustainable. Listen to the rest of this 2001 Crawling chorus. Tip number 1, we need to be thinking about compression, holding back, over projection and over raw exertion. So compression, not projection. Engaged in healthy singing of all kinds requires that you understand the fundamental principles and application of proper support and airflow management. If you are not fully sure that you understand how to use these methods and tools efficiently, click the link below in the video description or pinned comment and join my free course. I'll help you dial these in so the things that we're working on in this video will be easier for you to apply more quickly. Belting allows us to project and be loud and powerful. Rio! Oh! Oh! Okay. So, but we can't build distortion on that without sort of naturally going into a primary chord overload. Rio! Yeah, it can sound kind of good, but it doesn't feel right. It feels like it's conflicting with my primary vocal cords. And you hear Chester innately, to save his voice, when he gets to Rio, when he pulls that sound forward and belts, listen. Again, on Rio, when he really opens it up, he belts it, he brings it, it goes from Rio, it goes from back there to oh, and he cleans up. So he's building his distortion on a different placement than forward. He's not building it over a belt. And then at the end of Rio, he distorts a little bit and you find him bringing his resonance back. So we have Rio! I'm using intentional, more powerful clean singing with my belt, and then I'm bringing the resonance back, and I'm compressing or holding back to get the distortion. Not By me not bringing it back and just purely being forward and projecting more and more, I hurt myself pretty quick. And it's this balance that Chester struggled with when singing this song, because it's all in a very limited range. And so when you're singing it live, it's hard to really dynamically change your placement because you're not, it's a great range, but you're not going, really high and really low. You're right here. Which brings me to tip number 2. Rely on different sensations and placements in different ranges. Intentionally pursue feeling out your scream singing over a broad range instead of a narrow range, and you will unlock natural distorted placements and engagements. It's really hard to unlock healthy distortion in a narrow range of singing. It might sound great, but it's a lot harder to do. So, listen to this. Just that little line. Listen to what's happening with his voice from a distortion perspective. It's compressed, but it's not distorted yet. It's not it's cleanish, but still aggressive. And then, by the time he gets to said, which is an open, but again, placed a little bit further back, we have that nice, mild distortion. Every word I say is what I mean. Every word I say. So there's this gradual turning up of the compression. There's a gradual turning up of the constriction built over our primary chord engagement. But it's happening over a range of notes, and it's happening as we go a little bit higher. In other words, I'm not trying to do it on one note. I'm moving the notes around and varying my placement at the same time. So I'm relying on the dynamics of my voice as I'm moving around in notes. I'm pursuing lots of different sensations and different placements as I climb that line. Every word I say is what I mean. So live there, build it there, and then go to a completely different part of your range. Cornell did this all the time, and I'm convinced it's one of the reasons he was so free with his distortion. Okay, these are high, but that's the point of this exercise. This is a C and a D. Now I know why you've been shaking. Now I know. And I realize that there's doubling going on, but we're going to find that mixed voice note. No. Place it back. No. And then we're going to experiment with adding a little bit of fry to that note. So loosen, relax into it. No. There it is. Then, again, multiple sensations. Then we're going to compress into that. So try to hold intensity back as we push more here. We're building it over the primary chord engagement. I know why. And you can hear the fry and the compression working together there. Now I know why you've been. Yes. And then on shaken, and we hear Cornell do this, we're going to abandon and compress. Shaken. So first we abandon. Now I know why you've been shaken. Then we practice compressing into that abandonment. Now I know why you've been shaken. Did it. Now I know why you've been shaken. Now I know why you've been shaken. I didn't abandon quite a bit there. I used the same sort of engagement, which leads me to my third tip. Embrace volatility and vulnerability, not control. This is so important. You hear and see Chester. Just look at his face. I mean, he just invites you to speculate what's going on in his head. He's so like in his own world and wearing this mind state just out for everybody to see. Right? Look at him.
Something inside me that pulls me.
And this takes a whole lot of practice, maybe more practice than the actual techniques themselves. But we need to learn to connect with ourselves and others while also being mindful of what we're feeling physically in our voice so that we can make adjustments, so that we can feel free to express in a genuine, connected, vulnerable way while still serving our instrument. In the incredible book, The Power of Now by Eckhart Tolle, I was introduced to the concept of being a thought watcher. In other words, I am experiencing a thought and I am noticing I'm experiencing a thought at the same time. I am experiencing myself experiencing something in my brain. And we can do this with our voice. In my voice course, I repeatedly stop exercises and invite you to take inventory of what you're feeling and what you're thinking. This is probably the most important thing about developing healthy scream singing. At least I have found it to be. If I am making a sound that does sound good, but noticing that it doesn't feel sustainable, I need to adjust it non-judgmentally. And I need to balance this experiencing physically and noticing what I'm experiencing physically on an analytical level. Okay? However, it is possible to do this, to notice how you are feeling while you are truly given over to a vulnerable and engaged moment. And this is where singers, legendary and beginner, have trouble, and why sometimes scream singing especially can be so difficult, because we get so wrapped up in our emotions, in our engagement with others, that we go too hard and we don't realize it till it's too late. Practice building in this detached yet fully present experiential relationship into your vocal practicing. It's incredible. I can help you. And remember the first two tips as well. Rely on lots of different places in your voice, both range-wise and placement-wise, and compression over projection or pure exertion. Again, if you would like more help with experiencing and thinking about your voice in new and different ways, click that link below and join my free course in the pinned comment or video description. And be sure to check out this playlist for further advice on awesome scream singing.